Hi, welcome to Mystic Frequency. I'm Lisa, and I'll be your collective tarot reader here today on February 18th, 2026. But no matter when this reading finds you, especially if it's further down the road, there is a message here that your guides are trying to bring for you today. And you are more than welcome to dive into the description box below, where you can go ahead and start into the reading right off the bat as I get the rest of the intro out of the way. And if today is your birthday, happy birthday, and thank you for making it another trip around the world with us today. Always here on this channel, I want to make sure that my listeners are celebrated and that they find ways to celebrate more in their life, whether that be through achievements or goals that you have accomplished, or just feeling a little bit more inspiration or wanting to make a wish upon. But let me go ahead and get the rest of the disclaimers out of the way. Always remember that the wheel is in your hands at all times. Whatever information is revealed today is not the only source of input that you should be taking in. You should know your situation more than I would, and know that there are people around you and they are going through their own, specific scenarios and things. And, nothing is ever really set in stone. So whatever you are working towards requires a lot of effort and energy to put into whatever that may be. And I cannot give professional advice, but I can give personal experiences or whatever the guides are wanting to speak through as a channel. And if you start to find that this reading is not resonating for you, there's a couple scenarios that this could be talking about. There could be someone that you are very close to, that you find that you are in contact with quite often, either through social media, through work, your family, and your friendships. And your guides are using you kind of like a radio signal, where they are channeling a message through to you in order to, pass along something that may help them along the road. And the second thing that you can do with this information is treat it like a tool that you can add to your belt. The more tools you have in your belt, and almost like when you have when you're building a shelf and you were giving directions and how to build that shelf, then you will be much more successful making sure that you can accomplish this task if you have all the tools ready in order to start that project. At least that's my analogy for today. And I would also like to kind of like let my listeners know that I just recently posted a free video on Patreon, which I will include that video's link in the description box if you were curious to check it out, since I've been exploring a lot more with my Astro dice. And that reading specifically was, and I will say that reading is, I feel like it's for someone that grew up in a very rigid and strict upbringing that may have not been very conventional and may have not been, part of like the norm of what someone would expect. So if that feels like something you would probably resonate with, I encourage you to check it out. And then, I do have another video on that Patreon page that is free as well, if you wanted to check that one out as well, or even explore some of the different images and little icons that I put in the description box, because I try to use those icons to kind of help you determine, well, do I feel something with this icon or the images that are displayed? And, is this something that I want to invest in? But ultimately, my Patreon is one way to help invest in cards, in different divination tools, just so that way I can provide a different and more aligned experience for my listeners, so that way I can reach more in the collective. But I am very appreciative of everyone that has been commenting, has been liking, and subscribing. I never imagined that I would, it may not seem like a lot, but from where I have started to just even the 39 subscribers that I have gotten, I never imagined that I would get to that point. And I am so thankful and appreciative to those that come back and participate in these readings and just take the information and just go about on your journey. So thank you so much for really, helping giving me the thumbs up and the motivation that I need to keep pursuing. But as you can tell, the reading is kind of flipped, but I want to go ahead and get this reading started. So let's dive into what your astrology dice are talking about today. So we have Neptune in Gemini in the third house. Now, you do not have to have all of these placements in order for it to resonate. This is just the main focus that your guides are coming through and wanting you to talk about. And I will kind of talk about each one as I lay them up here. So we have Neptune, and its words below at the bottom of the card is dreaming and transcending. This is the type of energy where you would have the most empathy and could pick up on other people's emotions. And just like you would find with, like, how Pisces and Scorpio may have some issues kind of like discerning whether or not these are your own emotions versus another emotions. But so there may be these illusions that are around you, or even smoke and mirrors, and it takes a lot for you to be able to trust what's beyond the veil. And the Neptune is all about that veil. It's all about, what are your dreams telling you, and a need to really, listen to your intuition and open up and surrender to what is being revealed to you. And Neptune can even talk about being able to find your place in the world and see where it is that you are fitting. But this card will bring you spiritual lessons and help you pinpoint, areas where you may feel like you are escaping, or if, certain things that you are doing are, they're triggering illnesses. And so I found when I was ready to move on in my next step in life, the longer I delayed moving forward, my body rejected everything I was doing. It was like I had no motivation to get up. I was getting sick more often. And it was like I was trying to put off the inevitable. And so think about what that may be and listen to your dreams if you may be running from something, or if you feel like the walls are starting to kind of close in on you and force you to think about whatever that problem or situation is that is around you. Or if maybe you haven't been in touch with like your creative side, because this is a very creative energy as well. So art and music and anything that just really inspires you. Now we have Gemini coming through. Gemini talks about your ability to communicate and be able to network all the things that are coming through to you. It's like having a very active imagination with Neptune here, and being curious about the things that you are finding, and just really, it's like you're learning and growing here. But this energy can be, easy to be distracted and very restless if it doesn't have something that it wants to do in the moment. So they love to move and change if they feel that they need to. It's like you expect them to find them in one part of the house and then they end up in another part of the house. Or you'll see them in the middle of working on a project and their mind is looking at the ceiling or out a window, and they're just lost in daydreaming. But Geminis, they really love to be able to multitask, so that way, they're bouncing off one thing and then eventually they'll end back around to whatever it is that they found, gave them that inspiration. This can be individuals that have, that shiny object syndrome. I am one of those people. If I see something, shiny, I'm like, oh, what is that? And then I will waste about an hour away fixated on whatever it was that caught my attention. And so, like, this makes me think of, my brothers have ADHD, and it wouldn't surprise me if I didn't have it myself, where you can see like a trail. Now I try to stay organized. That is the one thing about being a Virgo that has probably helped me, is staying organized with my projects. And even though I may not have completed them, it's like I've already got the necessary tools in order to finish that project. But it's like I had to go on a side adventure first before I could return back to it. It's like I needed to make sure I had the right herbs and uh, tools or bolts and screws. And going back to that dresser, I don't know if anyone's building furniture right now and you're trying to find the inspiration to build that furniture, or you may be even having these creative projects in your mind that are making you want to, reach out and ask who has that kind of skill set, so that way you can work with someone on this. You would probably benefit from having a friend, a significant other, or just making sure someone can have a leash around you when you start to wander off, and they can pull you back to where you needed to be. Or there are some really funny short videos on YouTube and Facebook that I've seen where people are literally attaching them to whatever it is that they need to be doing, and then the instant they get distracted, it's like they can't move anywhere. So I'm not saying you should really strap down and stay focused on what it is that you have going on, but I will say you may feel as if you're kind of like up in the clouds about some things, and you're trying to create a bit of you're not trying to like leave the portal, if you will. You're wanting to keep that portal on the ground. And so then we're going to lead into, and if you hear any kind of clicking in the background, I'm trying to change out my chair. And it is very distracting, and I apologize if it's not distracting you and you're just like, oh, there's the clicks. And it's like clicking me to start the next thing. But so we have the third house: early learning, childhood relations, the rational mind, and communication. And this is the natural home of Gemini. And so maybe you're thinking about, especially if you got your own children that you have around you, and you're like, oh gosh, whenever I was in the backyard, I always wanted a fort. I always wanted a tree house. I always wanted, to be able to, be hands-on with my own environment, or even take that imagination that I have and find a way to explore it. It's where you're bringing your inner child now and making them more, making them feel like they have a place. So it's almost like you have your own inner child altar, if you will. But this can talk about anytime that you've had a dream in your life, or even in your early years. Were you able to express that dream, or was it shut down? Or did someone say that it wasn't a worthy thing to even focus your attention on? Did you have an opportunity to use your voice? Because that is a very big thing. Oh, that video that I did upload on Patreon, if you were a part of the intro, I do have a free video, but it talked about being able to communicate in a house where you could explore your own ideas and your own identity. And that's very crucial to your growth as, the first 14 years of your life, when you're trying to explore, your own identity and find your role in society, and whether or not your parents are trying to create a clone of them, or if you're going to let you just, free fall and discover the world for yourself. But this is, early experiences. This can talk about, the connection that you have with your siblings, or even any kind of childhood relation that you may have had. This whole energy, whenever I started like channeling it and writing it down, it made me remember how my brother was very creative, very imaginative, and he was one of those people that couldn't sit still no matter where he was. And you oftentimes found him out in the yard, and he always had like a stick or sword. That's what it was: a stick, a sword, some kind of tool that he had in his hand. And he had two imaginary friends, and one of them he always liked to say, like, anytime we would come outside, they would go and hide. And you know, we just had to play along with it. But he also had this one imaginary friend that was, her name was Wendy, and she controlled the weather. And it was so funny how, like, when we would come outside and he would talk about windy, it would always be very windy outside. And that's where the birth of this character, you know, came to play. But think about those, especially if you did have a hard time connecting with someone. Even though Gemini is the social butterfly of the zodiac, it can be very hard for a, you know, a very introverted Gemini to, it's like they want to connect, but if their voice was shut off at an early stage, they have to work through a lot of their fears or the illusions that were created that make them feel as if they are undeserving of, you know, reaching out and connecting with a potential friend. But this is, so all of these energies together, this is this is an imaginative, a very intuitive, sensitive mind. This is someone that can blend what they are visualizing and create it through their words or how they communicate with others. So the more comfortable you are with someone, or at work, or just, you know, how comfortable you are with your own skills will determine how successful it is, whatever comes to your imagination. And you may blend what you visualize through, you know, your through like creative metaphors, poetry, writing, just expressive art that, you know, you connect with, that tells a story. Or and what I love about this, whenever I was kind of doing a little bit more research on these whole placements, this is someone that could potentially have a knack for foreign languages. I can even see dead languages being something that you're interested in, that not too many people talk or use, but it has great significance and power when you use it. It's like having your own spells and nobody knows what it is that you're saying. So you may be interested in Latin, or just old English language that no one can read, like Shakespeare, and be able to utilize that and communicate. This one of the other things it talked about was being able to mimic what it is that you are hearing. So think about all the comedians that there are that have this ability to have like an accent, like an Irish accent, or Chinese, Asian, Russian, Hispanic, whatever kind of accent that a language has. It's like, even though it may be hard for someone to pick up a language and have that accent, it's like it's very easy for you, and it helps you really, it's like you fit in with a crowd once you do so. And I actually do have a funny story to talk about that. So I took 4 years of Spanish in high school to help me with where I originally was wanting to go with my future career that I wanted, which was teaching. And I wanted a secondary language to assist those, because I felt there was a need for it. So that way a teacher could communicate with all students without having to make them feel as if they were separated in a classroom. And I remember I cared so much about the linguistic tones, and, you know, those subtle trills that you would hear. And so I had this, I relate to this, the mimicking of another language, that I found that it became so scary. If I found someone had an accent, I would start not stalking. I'm stalking an accent. That's what it was. Where I found myself immersed in trying to mirror what it was that I was hearing. And then at one point, my best friend said, "Lisa, people are going to take you as being rude, or that you are making fun of whatever it is that they are saying." I've never had that instant where someone was like, "Oh, you're being rude." It was more like, "Oh, you speak my language?" And then they would just start like machine gun speaking, and then I wouldn't have an idea of what they were saying. But It's like, and that's a gift. That's a talent to have it if you can do that. And so you may find that, languages are that shiny object. It's just like you love to hear the way people use their words in a poetic way that may be different from your own language. But that's just a little bit about that. So there may be a little bit scattered concentration. So you may find that you need mental rest throughout the day or throughout the week. So that way you can come back to society when you are not so stimulated by what it is you're hearing, seeing, or working on. But communicating through your art and metaphors will be very beneficial to you. And you may even find that you are daydreaming and needing that mental stimulation, especially if it's not something you are finding at work. So you may think of distant places or old ruins. I may have already talked about an old ruin, um, but try to see how it is that you are absorbing your info, because this is someone who can pick up on something very quickly through their own intuition, but it can be very difficult with them if they find that whatever they are learning is very strict, very rigid, and has a matter of fact principle. So think of like scientific or topics or processes that have to be done in a certain step, and do not allow you to explore your own alchemy. So it's like you want to have a flexible environment versus something that is very factual. It's like you don't want someone to take your imagination away from you or your creative magic, if you will. And this is someone that can be very nervous at times, can be very sensitive, and it's just like, how are you able to create in this moment? Because you may feel as if your creative tank is now dry and it needs to be filled up again. So think about ways that you can create more abstract or even spiritual concepts that, motivate you. But I'm excited for this energy, especially for my creatives. Let me know how that resonates. But I went ahead and got all your cards laid out so that way I can spend less time flipping them over and struggling. So let me go ahead and pull your crystal card out and look how beautiful this looks. It makes me think of, I know selenite, if it were white, it reminds me of selenite, and it makes me think of Superman, but with this blue energy. So we have kyanite. Truth, communication, clarity. Speak your truth. Kyanite cuts through confusion, fears, and negativity and connects you to your most authentic self, soothing the soul. Kyanite sharpens your leadership skills and enhances communication skills, giving you the boost you need when addressing groups. Kyanite opens pathways and acts as a bridge from person to person, or even between dimensions, delivering telepathic messages. Kyanite is especially great for opening your throat chakra, bringing clarity and focus when you need it. We have Jupiter and Neptune in Aries, Taurus, and Libra. But let me go ahead and get into your tarot cards today. So we have the Ace of Wands, and the Ace of Wands affirmation is, I am unique. And so this is your career and finances that is going on currently. And it's like there is a point where you are reaching that fiery climax, or that point in your career, or even looking for something that you are either going to start to see it take off and everything is going to start rolling down the hill. So it's going to be very fast movement that is coming through here, and you do not want to miss this opportunity because it has potential here for you. So I love that it's coming in first, so that way you can bring it to your awareness. But with it being in reverse, there could be a new job or project that is trying to come through, but there may be delays going on, or even a feeling of uncertainty if this will be a successful role for you. You have a lot of potential and so much to offer with this, but your mind is focused on choosing the right thing that feels right for you. and allows you to use your own imagination and creativity. And I will say, like, anytime that I was in a role where I could not create solutions or be a problem fixer or, use my artistic side at my work, I found that I was, it was boring, if you will. So you want to not be bored at work with what it is that you're doing. Like, you already know you can do the role, but if you can do it and not be able to add your own flair to it, then it's like, I don't even want it. But this could also talk about, like, you are multitasking and there is a new project at work that's trying to come through, but you are very focused on what you currently have on your plate, or you may even have a side hustle that you are very passionate about, and it's preventing this option or offer to come through. And this is a card that says it's like you do want to see growth in what it is that you are doing and be able to see how it can impact your finances, where it can create even more energy and inspiration. It's like you got to see that dollar sign. And if you can't see it, it's like, I don't want to do it. I have to know for certain that this is something that is going to help me grow. And this may even say that you need a little bit more spiritual, or not spiritual, but inspiration and motivation. So a lot needs, it's like you need that fire to start first before you can. But your guides are saying that fire is about to start, so be ready for it. Now, in your relationship field, we have the Knight of Cups, the affirmations, I am liberated, and a need to bring love into the situation. So at work, you're wanting to feel very unique. You want to feel different. You don't want to feel like anyone else, and be able to, Aries, when they have an idea in their mind, they take off with it. And at times it can leave everybody in the dust behind while you are focusing on the things that you think are really important and really inspire you. But in your relationships, it's like you're it's like you want to stay liberated from your loved ones or whoever it is that you are connected from, but also, be able to, you know, walk towards them. But right now, if you are, if you're not in a relationship, you're trying to find someone that, there's a couple ways that this can be interpreted. You either want someone that is very charming, that is creative, and may write those love poems, leave mystery gifts, maybe even drop off roses, but, is able to give love and attention in return, just as if you would. Or you may even feel like this is someone that is trying to come through, who is very dreamy, that is trying to create that connection with you. And if this is not something that you are used to, you may even be like, what am I doing? Why am I being pursued by all of these offers that are coming through here? But this individual, or even you, is wanting to win someone's heart or even impress this person. But I will say that usually when you see the Knight of Cups, this is not someone that would typically stick around for the long haul, or you may even feel that the honeymoon phase is starting to be over, and it's starting to make you look at where do we go now with this relationship, now that we have done the wooing and, we've actually seen that someone wanted to accept our offer. And if you find that your relationship is, it no longer has that I'm wanting to send you things, and, it's, back and forth, and, we're not doing the things that we used to do when we first got together, you may want to see how you can be more romantic in your interactions with others and create opportunities so you can be romantic. Or if you're wanting someone to be more romantic with you, open up and communicate that with them, but allow yourself to bring love into the situation, or even say, well, what's made them stop wanting to pursue me? Like, what is going on? Are they um trying to create more offers or opportunities or potential um let me see, they're trying to figure out a way to come into your life and be creative about it, but it's like everything that they are doing right now may not be working. And so right now they're stalled. They're kind of like in the sand, and they may feel like their feet or their hooves are stuck. But this also, it makes me think of someone that, and this is a weird image for me to have come into my mind, where it's like you go to the bar and there are all of these potential suitors, and it's like you start to approach somebody with the drink you are about to offer them, and then you find out that their attitude is very horrible with the way that they treat the bartender, or there's a lot going on with what they have in their cup already, and it's not something that you would, it's like it wouldn't pair nicely with the cup that you have. But you're thinking about your choices and the offers that you currently have, and you may have one too many options that are around you. And it's like, oh God, which one is the best choice for me? Who is the it makes me think of The Bachelor, where, or The Bachelorette, who is handing a rose to the best candidate that they find. And it's like slowly over time, as the episodes go on, eventually you're down to, the three or the two, and you have to make a decision based off of, how you have did the pros and cons of each individual that you are around. But this is an opportunity here where you want to make sure that you are choosing the right person for you, that allows you to dream and create, and um, doesn't, they are authentic with you, that they can open their heart up to you and not pretend to be something that they are not, because that may be why you have slowed down walking towards them, because it's starting to turn out it's not everything you expected. Now, I will say your relationships at work, like this connection you have, if you have thought about leaving your work so that way you can travel the world, but then you find that you're losing that connection with others and being able to communicate and bounce off your own ideas with another person as you pursued your own goal, you may find that, oh, maybe I should have stayed where I was at, because this isn't something I actually want to do after all. Or it's like you thought, if I pursue a hobby or passion that I have, and then find out that it's not really bringing in the finances that you need in order to keep doing it. But this is, so with the Seven of Cups being in the back of your mind, it is heavily emphasizing, your career world and your relationships. And right now you are trying to rely on your wisdom and guidance in order to make the right choice for you. And you are trying to create your own criteria of what is right for you, and what is, what prevents you from having healthy boundaries, or what, or even, okay, so I didn't even say this, but with the Seven of Cups, you're trying to be brave about the decisions you are making, so that way you don't feel as if you are stuck. You're actually going to be able to move and make a choice there, regardless of how someone may feel about it. And like I said, if you do have a lot of people trying to offer you an opportunity, it's okay to say no if it is not in alignment with you. And just know that you are still a kind person who can make decisions for yourself. And if that person gets hurt because you have decided to go a different route, then it'll just take some time for them to go through their own healing process and work on the things that they need to work on, especially if you find that they are not mature or authentic with themselves. but you are very close to reaching a goal. And now your guides are wanting you to kind of like sift through these cups and see, okay, this one is not what I need to be focusing on. Okay, this has nothing to do with the task or the project I'm working on. It's like sift it through and ground and reflect on what you want for the long term, and take the options you have and compare them with your priorities, but reduce the amount that you have to choose from. That is the biggest thing. The number 7 talks about reflection and making assessments based on what it is that you currently know before moving forward. But I love this reading, even though it's a little bit lengthy, but that's because my intro was about 5 minutes long. But you're really close to achieving your goal here today, guys. And but remember to have healthy boundaries. If you find that people are trying to sabotage what it is that you are working on, because one of these cups does have poison, I will say. And so that may be like, that's where I'm halting at. But allow yourself to be able to daydream and stay grounded at the same time, where you can connect with your previous early childhood memories that may be able to help you be more rational about the decisions that you are making. But don't stop being curious and listen to, these intuitive downloads that are coming in, because those are going to be your key here to making a decision where you do feel liberated in your relationships without, feeling like you are tied down to something, and where you can be unique even and not have to constantly change yourself. But that is your reading today. Now, don't forget to take care of your body's needs. So if you haven't stretched your neck and you may be at a desk job, or you've been focusing on a painting or writing a book of some kind, roll your neck clockwise and counterclockwise twice. So that way, if you feel stiff or you just need a break from something, you're taking care of your needs. But don't forget to exhibit healthy boundaries today. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know how it resonates, guys. Bye.